So that title is not clickbait. This is an accurate statement. We are making a shampoo bar, a solid one, without lye today. But we're doing so using surfactants. And before you just bounce off because, you've seen this or whatever, or maybe I'm talking about something that I haven't talked about for this entire week, I don't think you should do so because this is also a way to make shampoo. And there's a whole school of thought about why this is a cool thing to do and how to make shampoo. So we're going to talk about all of those things today in today's video. The video to end the series. Probably. I'm not sure. I might actually do a couple more. We'll see. But I will tell you more about the recipe that we are doing today and surfactant solid shampoo soaps and all of the things in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You were at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you were here for week 21 of year 3 and video number 5 for the shampoo bar solid recipe week thing. Yeah. And as I said, today we are working on a surfactant blend for a solid shampoo. The reason that we're doing this is because there have been a lot of questions in the comments of the last 4 videos about using a surfactant shampoo. And here's the thing. First, I know that all of these videos were actually really, really short and sweet, and it was mostly just a recipe drop because I have already explained the chemistry of shampoo and, hair and pH and all that in other videos. But I do also know that it's probably worth a revisit. So that's what we will be doing, not this next week, but week 23. We're going to do some FAQs about some stuff that I have brought up. History of shampoo, history of hair care, history of styling products, the difference between a chelator and a clarifying, all about the scientific approach to pH and why it kind of doesn't matter in soap and all of the things. So we will be getting into answering all of these questions, but for the question that was asked kind of a lot, why you don't use surfactants, I figured we could do a whole video on that because I don't not use surfactants. For my clientele personally, I don't use this recipe or any recipes that contain SCI or SLSA or BTMS, what have you, because my clientele is different. But that does not mean that you cannot do it this way and you can't create a very cool shampoo bar. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the different surfactants that are in this. I'm going to give you that recipe and we're going to do all the things. So let's get to the video so we can do that. Okay, a surfactant / detergent based shampoo bar. We're going to do the thing. So first up, 45% SCI, sodium cocoa isothalanate, 25% cocoa amidopropylbetaine, also known as cocoa betaine, 20% SLSA, sodium lauryl sulfonyl acetate, 5% BTMS, and 5% butter. Shave for me all the way. And the additions, hydrosols, preservatives, etc., your scent, all of the jazz. If you use a mica with this, I do also recommend putting in a little bit of polysorbate 80 to ensure that it will disperse nicely and not be weird. Not completely necessary for something like this, but just as an extra precaution. So this is the actual recipe for the 2 little bars of shampoo bars that I am making for all of this. And as I pointed out on the list there, I am using half and half noodles and powder for the SCI. You don't have to do that. I did that literally because I was out of the SCI powder. and so I needed to also use the noodles. You can melt down the noodles and use it in a liquid form. Or powder form is easier, although it's just havoc on the lungs. All of this is havoc on the lungs, so always make sure to wear a respirator. But I really wanted to talk about the actual difference between this and a cold process or hot process based shampoo bar, right? There are pros and cons to using either version of all of this, and so we should totally talk about them. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and remember we are talking about surfactants in totality here. Soap is also a surfactant. It is a natural surfactant. That is what it does by definition. What is a surfactant? It is a surface active agent that breaks the surface tension, allowing all of the dirt and debris and oils and whatnot to actually be cleansed off. That said, soap in and of itself is a very mild cleansing agent when compared to the surface active agents, the surfactants that are man-made that we are dealing with within this recipe. First benefit to using a surfactant-based shampoo bar over a cold process shampoo bar is it has more cleanability, right? So there's a pro. But that's also a con for the flip side because more powerful cleaning agent can also mean more harsh for the skin. It's not necessarily true for any of the ingredients within this particular recipe, but it is something to keep in mind, especially if you are dealing with people with allergies, primarily coconut allergies, because SCI, cocoa betaine, SLSA, all derived from coconut. Second reason why it would be a benefit to use a synthetic or surfactant-based shampoo over a cold process shampoo is that it does really well in hard water because it binds to the mineral deposits easier. Therefore, it's better lift off. It's going to cleanse more easily. Whereas with cold process soap, you may experience, something weighing the hair down and not stripping as easily. But the reverse of that is that if it cleanses more easily with the wrong hair types, it will also strip away the nourishment of the scalp and the oils that are much needed for the scalp and the hair. And the third benefit to using a surfactant-based, synthetic-based shampoo over a cold process shampoo is going to be that you have the ability to adjust the pH and lower it closer to what your hair and or skin is. And really this third thing, the pH thing, is the only hot button issue that I ever see bandied about among soap makers and soap forums, and this whole idea that you should have a pH that is acidic, essentially, to match the pH of hair and or skin in order to cleanse, which by definition you can't do. A base is really required in order to cleanse per definition. So let's talk about that in the next section. So why synthetic surfactants were originally created is actually a discussion for another time and really didn't have anything whatsoever to do with cleansing or soap making, but let's go ahead and talk about the surfactants that are in this recipe specifically and the importance of selecting the right ones. So soap is in and of itself, cold processed soap, natural soap, whatever that definition is an anionic surfactant. Anionic surfactants are negatively charged and therefore are great at doing what a surfactant is supposed to do, i.e. cleanse, break down the barrier between, dirt and oil and grime so it can be cleansed away. So it then makes sense that the majority of the surfactants that you're going to put into a synthetic shampoo bar recipe would be anionic. And as we can see here, that's true. We've got 65% total of this recipe between the SCI and the SLSA as an anionic surfactant. But adding the additional surfactants in this with different charges will help decrease the pH of the product overall, as well as provide some extra benefits in the aforementioned, hard water, it's a big bubble, without sacrificing the intended use of a surfactant, which again is to clean. The anionic, which is the bulk of this recipe, is really great for foaming. It is really great for sensitive skin, but it does, however, need to be dispersed into another liquid surfactant, and that's where the cocoa betaine comes in. Cocoa betaine is amphoteric. So the cocoa betaine is realistically going to act as a support agent for all of the rest of the surfactants in the recipe because it is amphoteric. Now what that means is it has both a positive and a negative charge and can basically switch hit. So it can lend the total product, the overall product, to be, an acid or a base, depending on the rest of the formulation and the pH of the rest of the surfactants that you put in this. So all of the surfactants within this formulation, they all have a pH between 5 and 8. But realistically, what the amphoteric is going to be doing, the cocoa betaine, is going to be pulling that pH closer to neutral and or, acid leaning, while enhancing the function of the other surfactants, i.e. the big foam and the lather in the finished product. And so the final ingredient in all of this is the BTMS. Now, BTMS is cationic, which means it is positively charged, and that is really good for conditioning and anti-static, anti-flyaways. And so putting this in the recipe is a good idea. However, it has the secondary problem of it being oil soluble. So you're definitely going to need a fat within this particular formulation, which is where the shea butter comes in. And also to the BTMS, do you use 25 or 50? It's really up to you. The real difference between 25 and 50 is that the 50 has twice as much of the active ingredient that is going to be conditioning in it than the 25. So if you don't have any 50 on hand, you can use 25, or you can use a combination of an e-wax, a cetyl, acetyl alcohol, a fatty acid in its place as well. But you will need that fat in order to make the BTMS, the cationic, actually work within this formulation. So do keep that in mind. But that is the reason behind the ingredients. Okay, so at the end of all of this, what you have is a formulation that ticks all the boxes as far as being cleansing. Yes. Nice big bubble. Yes. Has a slight conditioning agent for sure. And has a pH overall, total finished product, that is slightly acid leaning. So between 5.5 and 6.5. Is it a more harsh cleanse? Yes. Is this something that you should use every day? No. And so for the flip side, with a cold process or a hot process formulation, what you have is a bar that ticks all the boxes. It is cleansing. It is moisturizing. It's an overall pH that is slightly alkaline. pH between 8 and 9. Is it more moisturizing than a surfactant bar? Yes. Is it a gentler cleanse? Also, yes. Can you use it every day? No, but I don't really think that we should be washing our hair every day regardless. So, again, options, pros, cons for both of them. Looking at the pros and cons from a business perspective, the biggest con in using a surfactant bar is going to be the cost. All of these surfactants that you do need to be used in conjunction with each other in order for them to be properly formulated, they are expensive. Cold process recipes are not nearly as expensive. Another con for the surfactant-based soaps would be that perhaps your client base is wanting and actively trying to get rid of and move away from man-made anythings, anti-synthetics. And so that is another thing to consider. That said, if you don't have a client base that cares about that either way, look at that bubble. It's an instant payoff with a little teeny tiny bit of the shampoo. So that is delightful. And there is no cure time associated with something like this. It is as simple as just, waiting for it to firm up so you can get it out of the mold. There are benefits to doing it this way as well. It really ultimately does come down to what you need, what your customer base wants, and, again, basically your personal preference. But those are cute. They are adorable. It's a well-formulated bar. If you want to do the recipe, you totally should. It's a great one. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Made it myself. There you go. And there it is, a recipe for a solid shampoo bar without LYE. Using a whole lot of surfactants, hopefully trying to balance the whole surfactant blend in order to ensure that we don't end up with overly frizzy or more flyaways or too much static charge, in your hair. Because that's ultimately the goal and really the hardest part in formulating a surfactant-based shampoo. But do remember what I said yesterday, soap is in and of itself a surfactant. In fact, the easiest and simplest one to make. So when you hear surfactant, don't think that it's a bad thing. Like I said, for my client base, I don't use any of these products because they want the natural solutions to hair care. They don't want the man-made, effectively, detergents that create a surfactant, but just with the lower pH. So for my client base, it doesn't make sense to have these in my line. That does not mean that your client base won't want these. They are very fun. They look like the Lush shampoo bars. It's a very cool thing too. But there is more than one way to approach hair care, hair cleansing, and this is one of them. Just like a melt and pour shampoo bar is one of them. Just like cold process is one of them. And if there is anybody out there that is ever telling you this is better than that, then as I said in the very first video, they're dicks. Because the thing is, what is best for you and your soapy business is what is best for your clients and what they want. And you also have to understand that the clients that are taking the plunge and trying to go naked with their packaging and trying to be more eco-friendly and responsible and want to eliminate as many man-made synthetics out of their life as they can, they are also aware that that may come with consequences, like the, transition period for your hair to go to a cold process bar, etc., and so forth. So they get that. They are coming to you for whatever it is that they're coming to you for. And so it is your job to know that and to make the best decisions for your client base. So there's that. As I said, we will definitely be doing a whole week of FAQs, probably specifically focused on the chemistry and the science behind hair and the pH and all that, as I said, because a lot of questions did come up in all of this. But I'm not going to leave you hanging. I will definitely be doing that. But because the videos this week are short and sweet, I really want to keep them that way so I have time to get a stock of videos ready to go for Disney, which is maybe what those videos will end up being. Or maybe that's next week. When am I going to Disney? I don't remember. But I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves today. I hope you had a good time. I am always, always very happy to see you. Thank you for existing, for being here, for being you. Special extra thank you to the Sudsers. It is like Tuesday. You have like 3 days before the Project Soapway submissions are due, so get those in. I'm very excited to see everybody's stuff. I'm out of here. I will see you guys all again, not tomorrow, but in a couple days. Right? Yeah, in a few days for another round of soapy fun. Bye. Listen, I know I said Tuesday and it is in fact Wednesday, but I rarely know what day it is in reality also for that. So there's that. Also, here's a video of me just playing with my hair because that's the only real outtake I have and I wasn't making any noise. So there you go.